The world is my idea. This holds true for every living, cognitive being, although only a human being can bring it to abstract, reflective consciousness. Arthur Schopenhauer. Divination, a practice as old as civilization itself, has long been a source of mystery, intrigue, and scepticism. With our modern scientific view of the world, it is easy to dismiss the divination arts as mere superstition, and as yielding little value towards improving the state of our lives and our world. And yet many today revere the divination arts as a profound connection to the spiritual realm, and a pathway to uncovering deeper truths about oneself and the world. Is our inherent interest in mystery simply a product of not knowing any better? Is divination just ancient superstition, best jettisoned and left behind? And is progress in our knowledge best defined as a linear movement towards an ever more precise modelling of the material world? As Carl Jung wrote in 1960, naturally, every age thinks that all ages before it were prejudiced, and today we think this more than ever, and are just as wrong as all previous ages that thought so. To what extent do we heed this caution in our pursuit of progress today? Given our predominantly materialist understanding of the physical universe today, the idea of seeking answers through cards, numbers, or the stars could seem absurd. Isn't it preposterous, or even self-centered, to suppose that the positions of the stars, hundreds of light years away, have any bearing on our lives and minds as human beings? There are indeed many legitimate criticisms of the divination arts. I myself spent some years paying little attention to their value, but today I find them to be an indispensable tool in the pursuit of self-knowledge. In particular, the four arts of the Western magical tradition: the tarot, astrology, numerology, and Kabbalah. In this video I will share some of the thoughts and findings that have reshaped my understanding of divination. Along the way, I will discuss some of the alternative models and understandings of mind, as well as, in part 2, address some of the common objections to the validity of the arts. Whilst no video could ever hope to be the final word on the nature of mind and divination, this one aims to offer some useful waypoints for those who are straddling their own dialectic of rationality and mystery. I hope it proves useful in helping you to gain a deeper understanding of yourself and the tools that may facilitate this process. Rationality and spirituality. As long as you still experience the stars as something above you, you lack the eye of knowledge. Friedrich Nietzsche. Rational thought and spirituality can exist together, although in their coarse, one-sided manifestations, they are certainly in conflict. Rationalism and material science, with their origins in the Enlightenment era, began to widely challenge the literal interpretation of religious teachings centuries ago, foreshadowing a gradual decline in religiosity in the Western world. However, these movements, which remain dominant in today's world, may have been hasty in dismissing all that religion represents as primitive superstition. In doing so, we sever our connection to vital unconscious aspects of our psyche, elements essential for living integrated, functional, sane, and fulfilling lives. The consequences of disconnection from ourselves are compounding to a critical point in Western culture, compelling transformation or else threatening to impose it upon us. Its repercussions appear in the form of widespread mental health problems, ecocide, a dysfunctional monetary system, and societal scale deception. All of these problems stem from a disordered, conflicted psyche, with its hallmarks of fear, greed, and a lack of empathy. And the cure, too, lies within this same psyche. Materialism, where pursuing an appearance of absolute rightness, can ironically fail sometimes to be truly rational or scientific. And whilst modelling material existence brings inordinate value, issues arise where it is presumed that a useful and intricate model of reality constitutes an explanation. Similarly, popular spiritual content, in its fervent desire to uphold a spiritual image, generally fails to engage with mystery at all, and, as a result, offers little in terms of transformative value. Yet, there is underlying truth and value in both of these extremes, not in their coarse, over-identified forms per se, but in what these represent. And not only do both hold value, but neither can continue to exist peacefully without honouring some portion of the other. Meaningful progress in the world today is contingent on an ability to integrate rational thoughts with a willingness to engage with the deepest parts of ourselves. Psycho-spiritual concepts, such as the shadow and the unconscious, have made their way into mainstream thinking with demonstrable utility. But to continue on this road, it is vital that we have a rational conversation about possible means of facilitating this connection. The divination arts, when approached critically and correctly, offer one vital avenue for re-establishing this connection. These arts were not originally intended for mere fortune-telling or for gratifying aimless curiosity. They are tools for the development of self-knowledge and for understanding the very movements and workings of mind. This pursuit of self-knowledge is the most profound and rewarding endeavour. It does not require a belief in anything supernatural. It does, however, require us to expand beyond a materialist paradigm. What are the divination arts? The divination arts refers to various practices and techniques used for gaining insight into yourself, your true nature, relationships, and decisions. This knowledge can lead to a more congruent mind, a greater acceptance of yourself and others, and a deeper understanding of your purpose, gifts, and challenges. The main divination arts associated with the Western tradition are the four arts of tarot, astrology, numerology, and Kabbalah. These are legitimate tools for facilitating profound insights into the human psyche, and they share a lengthy provenance. What is less commonly known is that these four arts are intimately linked, containing countless intrinsic references to each other that are instrumental in their correct application. Used together, these four arts can provide a comprehensive and insightful depiction of you and your potential as an individual. They can help point you towards the elimination of inner conflict in service of self-realization. Today, the divination arts are often dismissed as misguided attempts at predicting future events, using doubtfully supernatural means. But spiritual practice has nothing to do with parlour tricks, and we need not explain the arts away as supernatural. What the arts provide is not merely insight into the future, but insight into yourself. Insight into yourself, your mind, and your true nature is where all the benefits lie, and is the true goal of spiritual practice. The Tarot. The Tarot is a map of the human experience, our psyche, journey, and condition. It intricately reflects our strengths, challenges, and our rites of passage. Implicit within the Tarot are the three other arts of astrology, numerology, and Kabbalah. In this way, the Tarot can be thought of as the art that holds all the divination arts together. There is no lesson, life situation, or personal quality that cannot be mapped to the Tarot. It provides the apparatus with which to understand yours and others' experience. It comprises such comprehensive symbolism of the human journey that, if nothing else, studying it will make you a better therapist, coach, teacher, parent, colleague, and friend, even if you never conduct readings, construct birth charts, or even mention the word tarot. This is to say nothing of any divinatory purpose. It is commonly purported that the tarot was invented in 15th century Europe for purposes of playing games, and only began to be used for divination in the 18th century. But the depth of the wisdom of the tarot and its intricate links to the other arts challenge this notion. These connections are instrumental to the art's workings. As discussed in Michael Tsarian's compelling article, The Inner Zodiac, the word tarot shares the same roots as the Jewish Torah. The Hebrew language, in turn, has 22 letters, just like the major arcana of the tarot, as well as 22 being the number of connections in the Kabbalistic tree of life. Both the Hebrew and the Roman scripts were influenced by the Phoenician script, which itself was shaped by Proto-Sinaitic inscriptions, ultimately derived from Egyptian hieroglyphics. Our language is not arbitrary. It is rooted in the structure of the human psyche. The script that heavily influenced both Hebrew and English originally consisted of 22 letters. Its constituent parts, and the words we construct of them, are symbolic, reflecting aspects of our minds. Likewise, so do the various features of the tarot, with its 22 major arcana, 40 minor arcana, and 16 court cards, reflect universal aspects of our own consciousness. In this sense, they are timeless, and we can say this with certainty about the origin of the tarot, that its ultimate origin is the mind. Astrology. Just as the tarot contains a map of the psyche, the collective human experience has long been projected onto the stars and the movements of the planets throughout the ages. Western astrology, as we know it today, developed from Hellenistic traditions, merging Babylonian and Greek influences, and further influenced by Islamic scholars during the medieval period. Although, like with all the arts, its origins possibly stretch back much earlier. Using the 12-sign tropical zodiac from Aries to Pisces, Western astrology aligns with the seasons and incorporates elements like houses, aspects, and transits. A popular view of astrology is that the planets and stars affect us as individuals here on Earth. Based on this assertion, it's easy to understand why astrology too is dismissed by many with a predominantly materialist view of existence. However, the popular notion that our minds are somehow affected by the stars themselves is not how astrology is to be understood. Carl Jung once wrote, "The whole of mythology could be taken as a sort of projection of the collective unconscious. We can see this most clearly if we look at the heavenly constellations, whose originally chaotic forms are organized through the projection of images. This explains the influence of the stars, as asserted by astrologers. These influences are nothing but unconscious, introspective perceptions of the collective unconscious. Said another way, we see ourselves in the heavens. As above, so below. Our own lives and psyche too follow a kind of seasonal pattern. The workings of astrology are rooted in the human experience and our tendency to project ourselves into the outer world. The human conscious experience is divided into 4 modalities, which are echoed in ancient philosophies throughout the ages, as well as in recent discoveries of modern psychology. These 4 elements can be thought of as will, emotion, intellect, and sensation. The 4 elements of fire, water, air, and earth are nearly universal in ancient cultures, in both the West and the East. All star signs map to these 4 modalities and elements, as do the cards of the tarot, for example, as the 4 suits of wands, cups, swords, and discs. The ancient Greeks identified 4 primary temperaments or personality types, just as, in recent times, psychologist David Keirsey mapped his 4 temperaments based on action and communication styles. These same 4 modalities are echoed in the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator personality assessment, which is based on Jungian psychology and used by the majority of Fortune 500 companies. They are even reflected in the ancient Buddhist teaching of the 5 aggregates, which correlate to the 4 modalities plus consciousness itself. Each of the 4 modalities of consciousness can be mapped further against 3 defined states that reflect the changing and cyclical nature of existence, known as the cardinal, fixed, and mutable states. Cardinal being the initiatory or leading aspect, fixed suggesting stability and preservation, and mutable being the transformative, the removal of old and preparation for the new. The 12 signs of the zodiac align to the 4 modalities of consciousness, each divided into these 3 states. The sign of Gemini, for example, is the mutable air sign, often associated with adaptability, communication, and intellectual curiosity, whereas Aries is the cardinal fire sign, often signifying initiative, assertiveness, and possible impulsivity. The 12 zodiac signs represent 12 distinct human qualities, or archetypes. They are, in fact, not arbitrary, but are a formulaic representation of the timeless dimensions of human personality. Numerology. Numerology is concerned with the meaning and symbolism of numbers. Numbers represent quantity, but they also represent a kind of quality. Numbers are concepts, and the meanings of those concepts encompasses more than simply how many of something is being represented. Numerology is based on the premise that there are distinct patterns and cycles to human experience that can be symbolized by numbers. The human invention of the base 10 system and the numbers 1 to 9 are themselves emanations of human consciousness. They represent the phases and cyclical nature of all things into qualities and stages, from conception to division to nurturing and organization, through to coalescence, the ultimate end of a phase, and rebirth. These same stages, naturally, are reflected in the other divination arts beyond numerology. If we consider our experience to be a rendering of mind in the Kantian sense, including all time, dates, and events that occur, then appreciating the potential meaning in numbers is not a huge leap. To reject any usefulness in numerology, on the other hand, would be to deny the symbolic significance of numbers altogether. My own experience of mysterious, frequent, and meaningful appearances of certain numbers, despite some resistance, left me in no doubt that there was more to their significance than a materialist worldview would have had me believe. This is not to say that their meanings were definitive nor unambiguous, but that they were telling me something about the nature of my own mind. Synchronicities, in all cases, were coupled with an emotional charge, release, and the accompanying realignment of obsolete patterns of belief, thinking, and behaviour. To anyone walking a path of individuation, this immediate and direct knowledge of a psychic shift leaves them in no doubt as to their significance. Kabbalah and the Tree of Life. The Kabbalah, deriving from the Hebrew word meaning to receive, is an esoteric methodology for spiritual understanding. Like with the other arts discussed, Kabbalah's precise origins are disputed. Many believe it originated in Jewish mysticism, although it's possible that it was influenced by earlier traditions. Like with all the arts, however, as a map of conscious experience, its origins are essentially timeless. Kabbalah's primary symbol is the Tree of Life. This symbol is an intricate framework of 10 spheres, known as Sephiroth, interconnected by 22 paths. The Sephiroth and their connections can be seen as a blueprint for understanding reality. Each Sephira embodies an aspect of existence. The 22 paths that connect them symbolize the dynamic flows of energy that animate the structure. The Tree of Life serves as a multidimensional map, linking esoteric fields and offering deeper insights into the inherent connections between astrology, numerology, and tarot. Each Sephira and path has corresponding astrological and elemental symbolism, as well as links to a particular major arcanum of the tarot. Thus, it creates a rich framework of interrelated meanings, possible avenues for insights, and a means of understanding the journey of spirits. Materialism and the rise of idealism. There are some very understandable reasons as to why the divination arts have been misrepresented and misunderstood for hundreds, even thousands of years. But in the last 3 centuries, a key reason has simply been the dominance of materialist thoughts, for better or worse. At the dawn of the Enlightenment era, there was a pressing need to understand and model our physical reality, and to move away from non-empirical dogma. It is arguable that this offered more immediate benefits to our world, whilst at that time, the consequences of unilaterally doubling down on a materialist approach to progress were less apparent than they are today. Meanwhile, the shortfalls of pursuing organised religion in an absolutist way were becoming quite stark to many, and it would be necessary to explore its antithesis in materialism in order to find the truth common to both. It is naturally difficult to challenge a philosophy when it so enhances the quality of our lives. When a model appears effective, it often leaves little room for alternative views that might introduce conflict or doubts into the established worldview. Of course, under such a framework, the divination arts, which appear to give insight into matters beyond the material, would likely be dismissed as invalid. At the very least, they might be viewed as unhelpful, uninteresting, and unrelated to the primary endeavour at hand of rapidly improving the material state of our world. However, the new challenges this has brought about present a dying need for greater self-awareness and introspection, and, in turn, a synthesis of various understandings of reality. The shortfalls of materialism have always been apparent to some, even during the early Enlightenment. By virtue of materialism's dominance during this time, it gave rise to a wave of thinkers who shared an alternative view of reality, known as the Idealists. This included the likes of George Berkeley, Immanuel Kant, Georg Hegel, Johann Fichte, and Friedrich Schelling, among others. Although not directly proponents of the divination arts, their philosophies offer valuable insights into both the theoretical validity and practical usefulness of these arts. Idealism is not a single theory, but a paradigm that sits in antithesis to materialism. Though these thinkers each had distinct philosophies, as idealists, they were united by the belief that it is not matter that is the forerunner to existence, but mind. To be is to be perceived. Austrian philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein once asked his friend, "Why do people always say it was natural for man to assume that the sun went round the earth, rather than that the earth was rotating?" His friend replied, "Well, obviously, because it just looks as though the sun is going round the earth." Wittgenstein replied, "Well, what would it have looked like if it had looked as though the earth was rotating?" Throughout our modern lives, we have been told that our minds revolve around an objective, pre-existing material world. But a question worth asking is, how would it look if it were the other way around? It was Irish philosopher George Berkeley, who was the first thinker from the Enlightenment era, to propose that the material world exists only as perception, not in and of itself. Berkeley famously captured this idea in the Latin phrase esse est percipi, meaning to be is to be perceived, or more simply, being is perception. This radical perspective challenged traditional understandings of reality and would influence philosophical discussions for generations to come. Berkeley's challenge to traditional understandings of reality invites us to reconsider the potential validity and depth of practices like divination, which operate within the realm of perception and consciousness. In the latter part of the 18th century, Immanuel Kant made a distinction between the noumenal world, things as they are in themselves, and the phenomenal world, things as they appear to us. This acknowledgement of the mind's active role in constructing knowledge was a significant contribution to the development of idealism and marked a pivotal shift in philosophical thought. Hegel's Dialectic. The ideas of Enlightenment philosopher Georg Hegel expanded upon those of Kant, Fichte, and Schelling. The philosophies of these thinkers, along with those of other idealists, can further help us understand the usefulness of divination in the pursuit of self-knowledge. Central to Hegel's thought is the dialectical process, which involves the interplay of a thesis, an initial proposition or state, an antithesis, its direct opposition or contradiction, and a synthesis, a high-level understanding or resolution that reconciles both the thesis and antithesis. This same process inspires the scientific method itself, and is often applied to the progression of ideas. But for Hegel, this dialectical interplay was more than just a method for intellectual progress. He saw it as fundamental to the progression of existence and the unfolding of consciousness itself. Every self-consciousness opposes itself to another, and that through this very opposition attains consciousness of its own being. It involves the desire to assert its independence, and that it may so assert it requires the recognition of the other. Georg Hegel. This same synthesis plays out in our own lives and is an encapsulation of spiritual growth itself. Hegel's dialectic echoes the Jungian idea of the transcendent function, the Buddhist idea of the middle way, and all genuine forms of progress in our world and the wider universe. It is the process of making the unconscious conscious, transcending misaligned patterns, and aligning ever more closely with our true nature and potential. The divination arts are designed precisely for helping us to navigate this dialectical process within ourselves. When we look to, say, the tarot with a question, we are seeking clarity on how to move forward. We are looking to make a decision, that is, to resolve a conflict between two or more inclinations of mind, desires, or possibilities, between the way we have been and the way we could be. A tarot reading can help by reflecting back what is really going on for us psychologically, and the various options available. Thus, it can help to make the conflict conscious, so that it can be seen clearly and resolved skillfully. In a similar way, reaching a broader understanding of ourselves and our path through tarot, astrology, numerology, and Kabbalah can help us to navigate more of life's situations without inner conflict, leading to a more meaningful, peaceful, and joyful existence. Tarot birth charts offered by Make It Conscious are one such way to help illuminate the potential we hold, and the virtues that may lie in parts of ourselves we've rejected. You can think of these as like an astrological chart, except it uses tarot cards to signify you as an individual, and provides insights from all four of the divination arts. Divination and the unconscious. All aspects of the divination arts are reflections of mind, of ideas, from the various archetypes, rites of passage, life's vicissitudes, the personality types and cognitive functions, the seasons of our lives, as well as the structure of existence itself. All of these are represented in the four divination arts. The archetypes of the collective unconscious, as described by Jung, are also ideas in this sense. The symbols within the divination arts are neither prescriptive, absolute, or supernatural, but rather represent the structure of the mind itself. The concept of the unconscious has over the last 130 years or so gradually made its way into mainstream understandings of mind, as well as of psychotherapy and medicine. The likes of Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and others did much to popularize our knowledge of the unconscious throughout the late 19th and 20th centuries. The ideas propounded in Idealism, on the other hand, have not been acknowledged to the same degree. However, the growing recognition of materialism's shortfalls, both in theory and utility, underscores the need to revisit idealist philosophies. These theories invite us to question the common assumptions that underlie the scepticism towards tools of self-knowledge, like divination. This is not to say that idealism directly replaces materialism, nor that any one philosopher holds the ultimate truth about reality. However, their contributions are invaluable in challenging materialist assumptions, advancing our understanding of self and experience, and encouraging us not to hastily dismiss the very tools intended for this exploration. In particular, they open us up to the notions that the world we experience may not be merely a material construction in the way we have been taught, that our own minds play a role in its formation, that we come to know ourselves through the world, that there is such a thing as an unconscious, that exploring it and reconciling our conflicts is the very essence of spiritual growth, and that this pursuit of self-knowledge is a project we sorely need to embark on if we are to preserve our civilization. I hope you have found this introduction to the divination arts useful. Be sure to check out part 2 of this series, where we will build on these ideas and address some of the common objections to the divination arts in more detail. If you would like to order a tarot birth chart reports, check the links below. Here, you will also find the guided active imagination playlist, as well as links to a range of free resources available from Make It Conscious.